The Senate will come to order. Mr. Hubler, please call the roll.
Senators Baisley, Bridges, Buckner, Cutter, Senator Cutter,
Excused.
Danielson,
Excused.
Exum, Fields, Senator
Excused.
Fields, Gardner, Janal, Gonzalez, Senator
Excused.
Gonzalez, Hanson, Henriksen, Huckes Lewis,
Excused.
Kirkmeyer, Kolker, Liston, Lundeen, Marchman, Senator Marchman,
Excused.
Michelson Janae, Senator Michelson Janae,
Excused.
Malika, Pelton B, Pelton R, Priola, Rich, Roberts, Rodriguez, Simpson, Smallwood, Senators, thank you, Sullivan, Van Winkle, actually, correction, Senator Sullivan,
Excused.
Will, Winter, Senator Winter, Zenzinger, Fenberg,
Excused.
Senator Cutter, Senator Fields, no. Senator Gonzalez, Michelson Janae, Marchman, thank you. Senator Sullivan, Mr. President,
Let's do this. The morning roll call is 31 present, 0 absent, 4 excused. We have a quorum. Majority Leader Rodriguez.
I'm not. Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we suspend Senate Rule 1B to allow someone other than a senator to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
You've heard the motion. This requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Rule 1B will be suspended to allow someone other than a senator to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Members, this morning we have Senator Priola's daughters, Cora and Mari, from Frazzati Catholic Academy here to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Cora is 8 years old and Mari is 13. It is also Bring Your Child to Work Day, so I would like to invite any other children here to come up and help as well. Will the clerk please add Senator Hawkins Lewis to the roll? All right. Approval of the journal, Senator Mullica.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wish President Finberg was here because there was a message for him from my kids about maybe being a little nicer to their father when he's doing this. And, you know, we do have Take Your Kid to Work Day. We might have Gabriella, a.k.a. Gabalicious, Logan, and Autumn Grace here to hear this. And so if you all could vote yes in front of my kids, I would greatly appreciate it. I move that the Senate Journal of April 24, 2024 be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You've heard the motion.
For the kids, for the kids.
All those in favor for the kids say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no? You see, kids, the ayes have it and the motion is adopted. Senate Services.
April 25th, 2024, correctly printed Senate Bills 215, 216, 217, and 218, correctly reengrossed Senate Bills 32, 47, 48, 59, 90, 110, 117, 146, 149, 162, 168, 182, 200, and 202, correctly revised House Bills 1149 and 1252, correctly revised House Bills 1057, 1079, 1121, 1147, 1233, 1253, 1269, 3028, and 3032, correctly enrolled Senate Bills 19, 125, and 180.
Committee reports.
April 24th, 2024, Committee on Health and Human Services, after consideration of the merits, the committee recommends following. House Bill 1010 be amended as follows, and is so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations. Favorable recommendation. Committee on Transportation and Energy, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends following. House Bill 1338 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. Senate Bill 212 be amended as follows, and is so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendations. Senate Bill 214 be amended as follows, and is so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. Committee on State, Veterans, and Military Affairs, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends following. House Bill 1273 be amended as follows, that is so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. House Bill 1236 be recommended to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, and with a recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. House Bill 1270 be amended as follows, and is so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Committee on Judiciary, after consideration of the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1450 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, and with recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. House Bill 1124 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 205 be amended as follows, and is so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation.
Majority Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate move out of order for a moment of personal privilege.
The motion is to move out of order for moments of personal privilege. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and we will proceed out of order for moments of personal privilege. Senator Coker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you. Members, colleagues, today I want to take a moment of personal privilege to recognize the life-saving efforts of Donate Life Colorado and the Donor Alliance. In the past, we've received these ties as a sign of solidarity. I forgot to tell you all to wear yours today if you've received it, so my apologies on that. But I'm wearing my tie today in honor of Donate Life Colorado and the Donor Alliance. If you were able to join the breakfast and conversation event they hosted earlier in front of the old Supreme Court, you might already know about what they do. And I'm just going to reiterate their mission because they truly are an incredible organization. A few years ago, I came up and I gave a tribute. And the family joined me of Molly Corlett. Molly's mom was a family friend of mine, actually my wife's principal. Molly died of an aneurysm in her early 20s and was able to, the family was able to donate her organs. And to me, that was such a gift, so special to be able to donate at the end of someone's life to help someone else continue their life and help with the grieving process. I think it's such a huge help to the families who are grieving. You know, that was part of some of the things that I have personally witnessed in my lifetime. I've had family and friends who've done this back in the 80s. Motorcycle accidents, dying, you know, of head injuries, and able to donate their organs. Donor Alliance is a nonprofit federal designated organ and tissue bank that serves both Colorado and Wyoming. They stand as leaders in the organ and tissue donation community, and they offer countless individuals a second chance at life through organ and tissue transplantation. They're committed to breaking down barriers that prevent folks from accessing the transplants they need to survive. They also collaborate with the Colorado Division of Motor Vehicles to provide through education about the importance of organ donation. You have the ability, when you get your driver's license here, to become an organ donor, to put it on your driver's license. And I ask everyone to do that if you haven't already done so. This partnership has actually helped make Colorado and Wyoming among the most generous states in the U.S., with over 68% of Coloradans and 62% of Wyoming residents registered as organ donors. Through transformative giving, these organizations are able to fund research, education initiatives, as well as provide support for the loved ones of donors. Thank you for allowing me this moment to pay respect to Donate Life Colorado and the Donor Alliance. And you can see Senator from Colorado Springs over there who has his card up, his ID up. So thank you all, members. Thank you for the moment. Please make sure that you let your constituents know and let everyone know it's really important to be a donor. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kolker. Third reading of bills. Final passage. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1149?
House Bill 1149 by Representatives Burden, Frizzell, and Sirota, and Senators Roberts and Kirkmeyer, concerning modifications to requirements for prior authorization of benefits under health benefit plans and in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1149 on third and final reading and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none. Oh, Senator Smallwood. How did I miss you? I'm small. No, not at all. Please.
You gotta wear sunglasses this time.
I should.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, shouldn't surprise anybody, I'm rising in opposition to House Bill 1149. We had, I think, a good conversation, albeit truncated, yesterday on 1149. I wasn't able to go into a lot of the information that I wanted to about this bill. Had a lot of amendments that I thought would be fun to discuss. But again, I start with the recognition that I said everyone in the chamber was already a co-sponsor on the bill, and that was being a little facetious, obviously, as there are only 22 of you who are already co-sponsors. So to say everyone in the chamber isn't an accurate comment, and a number of you chatted with me afterwards to remind me that that you indeed were not a co-sponsor. But what I wanted to just take a couple minutes today about is that to talk about even the fact that just mathematically there are enough co-sponsors on this bill to pass it. So encouraging a no vote, in case anyone's wondering if I've completely lost my mind and think that you are going to make the march of shame to take your name off the bill as a co-sponsor. I've lost most of my mind, but I haven't lost all of my mind. I do not accept the notion that people are going to say, hey, this isn't the bill that was explained to me, and therefore I'm so outraged that I'm going to march up here to take my name off the bill. So I'm not expecting that. Okay. Again, I understand the realities of this place, but if anybody is so inclined, I want to make sure that you have proper reason to join me as a no vote on House Bill 1149. Again, I'm not expecting it. And as we talked about on second, certainly nobody in this room needs permission from me or anybody else to vote how you want to vote. But House Bill 1149, although part of me is grateful for the fact that it's not doing what I believe you were told that it's going to do. Part of me is very grateful for that because I think the concept really is flawed. So I do have a few reasons why, if you were inclined to be a no vote and join me with that, why you might be. And I won't include as one of those reasons the reason why even in the bill itself, in the legislative declaration, 2/3 of the surveyed physicians don't feel this is a problem in the first place. For anybody who missed that on second reading, that is part of the ledge deck that says 1/3 of the surveyed doctors, 1/3, think this is a problem. Meaning 2/3, using Kansas math, 2/3 of doctors think that this isn't a problem, which is already an unusual place to start with a bill, saying there are some doctors that feel that this is a problem, therefore we're going to run a piece of legislation, even though 2/3 of doctors think that this isn't a problem. We won't include that in one of the reasons why I think you might want to join me as a no vote. It's that if we attempt to solve this problem that isn't a problem, that we're potentially creating a bigger problem. And I don't know that the physicians themselves have walked through this exercise mentally to say, okay, what happens if later on the framework that we're building now in 1149 happens? Then what happens? Because my fear is that physicians were told, hey, 1149, first of all, it was going to be a bill that allowed for gold carding. Now it's not. Now it's the bill that will potentially build a framework for gold carding. But if that were to happen, I don't feel like physicians were necessarily informed of the fact that if, let's say, prior authorization goes away, it is going to go away for a fraction of their patient load, and it is an ever decreasing fraction of their patient load. Meaning, if we were having this conversation 10 years ago, it would have been like half or 60% of their patient load. Today, colleagues, once this framework is established and prior authorization ostensibly goes away, it will go away, if this were enacted today, for 28 to 29% of their patients. That's it. 28 to 29% of their patients. Meaning for the vast, vast, vast majority of most physicians' patient load, they are still going to need to go through utilization management. And so to think, as you walk through this, to think, well, this is going to reduce the workload on doctors' offices, I don't agree with that. In fact, I think it causes more confusion, more chaos, and most importantly, opens up the patient for billing from these surgery centers, imaging facilities, laboratories, because the physician will inadvertently think, well, I've got the gold card, so I don't have to do prior authorization, not knowing that the patient had switched insurance policies, gone through a renewal, moved to a self-funded plan, done something. So the physician, think about this, folks, physician sends the patient off to go get MRI number 2, which isn't weird. It happened to me this month. And because there's a renewal date or something along those lines, well, now guess what? You did have to go through prior authorization. And the doctor wouldn't have known that. There's no way to have known that. And who is going to be stuck with that bill? I will tell you, as a person that deals with medical billing virtually every day, it is the patient that is going to be stuck with that bill. The doctor, I don't want to speak for doctors, maybe they're just way more altruistic than I give them credit for, is not going to say, oh, golly, you're right. I didn't realize that you had switched health insurance plans, so I'm going to go ahead and pay that $1,800 MRI on your behalf. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the patients are going to be stuck with that bill. So this is creating, if this goes through, this is creating a bigger problem. It is not solving a problem. The amendments that were voted down yesterday on seconds, thank you everybody for coming back to the room to vote no on these. It clearly didn't go down the way I anticipated it might. The amendments that we voted down as a body yesterday, first of all, got rid of the idea that there should be some guardrails, if this gold carding actually happens, that there should be some guardrails around what kind of prescription drugs are exempt from prior authorization. There should be some guardrails around the cost of the drugs. $30,000, colleagues, seriously? $30,000 is the guardrails that are in the bill today. If a drug costs less than $30,000 and gold carding magically happens in the future, that's the bar that was set. We voted down a much smaller amount. We voted down asking for prior authorization on dangerous drugs, those prone to abuse and misuse. We voted down an amendment that said that think about this, if you're the patient paying your deductible and your gold carded doctor prescribes a drug where there is a generic equivalent or a biosimilar, and they instead prescribe to you that much more expensive drug, it can't even be looked at. Meaning you as the patient are stuck with that bill. I don't know, anybody here on a high deductible health insurance plan? I am. I pay everything up until I meet my deductible. And again, nothing in this amendment said doctors couldn't prescribe this. This was simply saying that if they did, somebody was going to take a second look. As somebody paying premiums, somebody paying deductibles and co-insurance percentages, I would certainly like somebody to say, oh, hey, Mr. Patient, just wanted to let you know there is a generic option for this, and we're holding up the prescription so that you can make the decision as a patient. But we voted that amendment down. We voted down the amendments that would have said, how much is this costing patients? And so those are the last two pieces that cause me the most concern. Is I'm voting no because over time, if this happens, not only will it create more chaos than it will solve problems, it creates a cost problem for patients and premium payers.
Senator Smallwood, would you like to go into your next 10 minutes?
Yes, sir, I would.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. It creates a cost problem. And it creates a cost problem, not for the insurance companies, because as sure as I'm sitting here, I guarantee, swear, promise to you, the insurance companies are going to make plenty of money, whether this passes or not. I promise you that. It's not a cost problem for the insurance companies, because the insurance companies are just going to pass on any of these costs to the patients. The amendment that was voted down said, how much is it going to cost patients? How much is it going to cost premium payers? We voted that down. We didn't even want to know what the number was, apparently, as a body. We didn't want to know. Like, don't disclose that to us. Part of why we demand actuarial reviews in this place, to see both sides of the ledger. Here, in this bill, we only want to see one side of the ledger, apparently. We don't want to see how this is going to impact the premiums. And the reason why that's so frustrating to me is you'll probably notice you've never been approached by anybody with the Colorado Association of Health Insurance Premium Payers, the CHAHPPP. Because it doesn't exist. Because nobody lobbies on behalf of the premium payers in our state. Nobody. There's lobbyists for everybody else. There's no lobbying team called the Colorado Association of Health Insurance Premium Payers. So we'll never know. We'll never know whether or not premiums go up for this, because we voted down an amendment that would just even tell us what that number is. Is it lower rates by 3%? Does it increase rates by 3%? By 0.03%? We'll never know that. But the cost problem that I'm concerned about, even more so than premiums, is the direct dollar costs when doctors think that they're skipping the prior authorization process, find out afterwards that they couldn't, and it's going to be the patients who are stuck with that bill, and I'm going to pull the tape from this moment right now, and when you're getting those emails, I will share that with you, just like I shared the tape with you about PDAB, about patients complaining to you about drugs being taken away from them, and everybody was like, ha ha, you're so funny, Senator, that'll never happen, and now you're all getting those emails. This will be the tape part that I send. So the cost problem and the safety problem. Prior authorization does not exist to annoy patients and annoy physicians. You have a choice in this state as to which health insurance company, which third-party administrator you work with. And your employer has a choice. And believe you me, if an insurance company or a TPA or a PBM is unnecessarily and arbitrarily putting people through these gymnastics just to annoy them, they will lose market share. People won't want to work with that insurance company anymore. These utilization management processes are put in place because of the cost impact, number one, and because of the safety impact, number two. Having somebody take a second look at this, and you heard from the senator from Boulder County on this. There are things prescribed, there are procedures ordered that shouldn't be ordered. Think about it this way, colleagues. Think about if I was running a bill that said, we're going to outlaw a patient's ability to get a second opinion. Think about that. If I ran that bill saying patients shouldn't have a second opinion, there would be a phalanx of legislators here in the well talking about what a ridiculous idea that is. So on one side, we say, you know, we do think that doctors are sometimes fallible, so much so that we think second opinions are important. We say that on one side, and then the very next breath, we say, except when they're not. Actually, we changed our mind. Doctors are infallible sometimes, and nobody should double-check their work when it comes to prescribing drugs or prescribing lab work or imaging or anything like that. So the hypocrisy when it comes to our view of physicians, and I love my doctor, they do a great job, but as I mentioned yesterday, they've got a million things going on. They can't possibly keep track of every new biosimilar that's been created. Cost issues, safety issues, chaos issues, and don't forget, this is not the bill that many of you put your name on. You're putting your name on a gold carding bill. This is not today a gold carding bill, and part of me would say, thank goodness for that. So I appreciate your time and attention, colleagues. Would encourage a no vote on House Bill 1149.
Mr. Hubler, please add Senators Danielson and Fields to the roll. Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. All right. Members, let me just start off first by saying this was never, ever presented as a gold card, as gold carding. Gold card doesn't show up in here. The discussion wasn't about gold card, so it's not about gold card. I want to read you a section out of the bill. When a carrier or an organization approves a prior authorization request for a surgical procedure for which prior authorization is required, the carrier or organization shall not deny a claim for an additional or related healthcare procedure identified during the authorized surgical procedure. Does it sound a little bit ridiculous to you that we have to actually put that in law? So while you're in having a surgery that you got pre-authorization for, that you had to go through and get pre-authorization for, you're in there and the doctors, the surgeon realizes you need another procedure. And so they go ahead and do it. But because you didn't get prior authorization, Your health insurance people aren't going to pay for it. So we had to put into law that they don't get to deny. They don't get to deny. When you're opened up on the operation table and your surgeon says, my God, we found something else we need to take care of, what? They should just sew you back up and say, hey, go get your prior authorization. We'll see you in 6 months for another surgery. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous we even had to put that into law, but we did. Let me tell you what else is in this bill, because the good senator from Parker would have you all believe that we eliminated prior authorization. And in fact, I think he said it about 25 times yesterday, that we were eliminating prior authorization. We are not. We are not eliminating prior authorization. What this bill does is it prevents disruption in approved care. It ensures that there is continuity of care by extending prior authorization approvals to last up to a year or the course of the treatment. I don't know. I think that makes sense. You got prior authorization for a drug that you needed, and we're just saying that you don't have to go back and get another one because of some, I don't know what the reason would be, but for other reason, that you get to have continuity of care by extending your prior authorization approvals to last for up a year or the course of treatment, or for 3 years in the case of chronic maintenance drugs. Let me just repeat that. Chronic maintenance drugs. You don't have to go back every year and get another prior authorization. Maybe you changed health insurance plans. And they're like, heck, we don't like that drug you've been using that you know that works for you for your chronic disease. My sister has Crohn's disease. I have a child with ulcerative colitis. So does she have to go back and get prior authorization every time if she changes her insurance company? That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. You know, in committee, we heard from the opponents, and here's what they said. We should be keeping 3 things in mind. And I agreed with them on those 3 things. We should be thinking about patient safety, about health equity, so access by all demographics, and about cost containment. Keep in mind, that was the proponents. That was the opponents. I agree. Patient safety. Do you know that 25% of prior authorizations led to patient hospitalization? So they waited around for their prior authorization, and it ends up leading to patient hospitalization. How is that increasing patient safety? How is that cost containment? When they were talking about cost containment, were they talking about for the patient or for themselves? For the health plans. 33% of prior authorizations led to serious adverse health event. That's not cost containment for the patient. That's not thinking about patient safety when we're talking about leading to serious adverse health events. 19% of prior authorizations led to life-threatening events or need for medical care to prevent permanent damage. Double check? I heard the good senator from Parker say we should be double checking. If I'm getting a second opinion, I want it from a doctor. I don't want it from some admin, some person sitting in an office someplace saying, God, this is going to cost my company a lot more money. Cost containment for who? How about cost containment for the patient? How about patient safety for the patient? Health equity. Chronic disease patients who are Black or Hispanic experience prior authorization denials at 19 to 40% greater rate than white patients. So I agreed with the opponent. We need to consider things like patient safety, health equity, cost containment for the patient. For the patient. This is an important bill. And I'm just going to say it one more time because it was said so many times yesterday and even today. This bill never was introduced as gold carding. That was a bill 2 years ago. I know, because I was on it. 2 years ago. So, Office of Saving People Money. We're talking about people. We want to save people money. We want to make sure that the patient remains safe. We want to make sure that we contain their costs, and while we're doing that, that we're not leading to serious adverse health events, that we're not leading to life-threatening events, or the need for medical care to prevent permanent damage. Those are the people that we should be considering. Those people. House Bill 1149, prior authorization requirements. Somehow, I felt like I was getting chastised or lectured to because we had extensive stakeholdering. Not just over in the House, but prior to this bill even being introduced. We had discussions all about this last year, 2 years ago. We've had extensive stakeholdering. There were extensive amendments made to the bill and amendments made to the bill that made it better, that worked with the health plans. When is that a bad idea? When is it a bad idea to go and work with the opponents? But I feel like I got criticized because we did that. We said, let's get this worked out. Let's get to where we need to get to. And we did that, and I get criticized for it. We didn't have any amendments offered in the Health and Human Services Committee, not one. There was opportunity there. We didn't get one, not one. None of the sponsors on this bill have said, and when you were spoken to about this bill for any of the co-sponsors, we never said that prior authorizations weren't important. We didn't eliminate them. We didn't eliminate them when the bill was introduced. We didn't eliminate them after we made amendments. Prior authorizations play a role in our healthcare system. No one has said differently. That's the original, it's the original intent, is to support high-value care. It's not the intent to have someone sitting in an office someplace second-guessing what the doctors say need to happen just to save money. Prior authorizations processes have ballooned in use, causing disruptions in care and adding administrative bloat to our healthcare system. Estimates suggest that between 15 to 30% of overall healthcare spending, 15 to 30% of overall healthcare spending, I picked that tip up from the good senator of Parker County, that if I just keep repeating myself, hopefully you're all going to listen and hear what I have to say. So, estimates suggest that between 15 to 30% of overall healthcare spending and 1/4 of the medical labor force are involved in billing, insurance management, and hospital administration. It's time. It's time to pass this bill. It's time to ensure that we streamline the existing prior authorization processes, increase transparency so that providers can spend time caring for patients, not chasing down prior authorization paperwork. Patients should be able to receive necessary care to lead to full and healthy lives. I ask for an aye vote on 1149.
Senator Baisley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to agree wholeheartedly with the good senator from Brighton regarding her statement that if a second opinion is necessary, let's hope that that second opinion comes from an independent physician, a doctor who specializes in that area, not overridden, not having the original doctor overridden by a corporate bureaucrat who's following some process. So I've been looking forward to this bill for some time, and while I'm sitting there, I felt compelled to come and share another detail of my own personal story, and forgive me for personalizing this, but it's why it's important to me. And I know that I'm not unique in this at all. That when I tore up my shoulder and came in to visit the doctor the day after, it was obvious that I had a lot of torn internal injuries because there was so much heavy bruising. In fact, I had disconnected my bicep from the bone, along with the shoulder, the rotator cuff. So there was a lot of repair that had to happen, but the x-ray could not determine what tissue damage there had been, so they needed to have the MRI to determine that. And as I'd spoken the other day, yesterday I believe, was the doctor said, well, I'll put you in for pre-authorization for the MRI. They will turn it down, but we will work with them. And I was surprised, what do you mean they'll turn it down? He says, they always turn it down. I always try to avoid the MRIs. So when they came back with the turn down, it wasn't just, we deny your pre-authorization request for MRI, but they said, we want him to go through 8 weeks of physical therapy first, which seemed silly to me because that certainly was going to be more expensive than an MRI, but it was a bad idea. As the surgeon explained, who had just completed a professional paper studying this, he said that torn tissue needs to be surgerized within 1 month of the injury, or it will heal wrong. So this was prescribing something from the bureaucrats, overriding the professional, trained, highly experienced doctor for a solution that would have caused much more harm. You know, I was offered, because I sit in this seat as you all do, members, hey, we can fix this. We can get this taken care of because you're a senator, and so they would, and I turned that down. I paid for the MRI myself. I want to suffer along with all of my constituents. So I feel this one because I'm wearing it, because I know they do. So I hope this bill does everything that it's purported to do, and I appreciate the cautions coming from the good senator from Parker. So we'll keep an eye on all of that, but I feel strongly that we ought to move forward with this bill. This process, the system that we have in place, which has grown out of bureaucracy over the past 50 years, and we all watched that happen, it has gotten so out of control that doctors are not able to provide the quick, high-quality American medical experience that this nation's always been proud of. It's just really turned into sludge going through a pipe. So it's time to fix it, and I appreciate the sponsors taking it on, and hopefully we will fix it now, starting here in Colorado. Thank you very much.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of House Bill 1149. Are there any no votes? Senators Smallwood, Gardner, Pelton B., Mr. Minority Leader. We're going to go over the no votes one more time. Please raise your hand if you are a no vote. Senator Smallwood, Gonzalez, Gardner, Mr. Minority Leader, Liston, Pelton B., Jaquez Lewis. With a vote of 27 ayes, 7 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, House Bill 1149 is passed. Co-sponsors: Senators Mullica, Michelson-Janae, Janal, Buckner. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1252?
House Bill 1252 by Representatives Vigil and Bradfield and Senator Michelson-Janae concerning the continuation of the Suicide Prevention Commission.
Senator Michelson Janae.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 24-1252 on third reading and final passage and ask for an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the passage of House Bill 1252. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, House Bill 1252 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Winter, Colker, Janal, Gonzalez, Zinzinger, Marchman, Henriksen, Bridges, Cutter, Buckner, Jaquez Lewis, Fields, Exum, Mullica, Roberts, Hanson, Will, Priola, Sullivan, Danielson, Gardner. Please add the president. Committee reports.
April 25th, 2024, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1099 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. House Bill 1105 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. House Bill 1176 be amended as follows, and is so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. House Bill 1231 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. House Bill 1294 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. House Bill 1329 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. House Bill 1345 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 54 be amended as follows, and is so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 76 be amended as follows, and is so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 80 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 129 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 181 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 207 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 215 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar.
Special orders. Second reading of the bills. Consent calendar. Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate take up House Bill 1176, House Bill 1231, House Bill 1329, House Bill 1345, Senate Bill 129, and Senate Bill 215 on special orders consent calendar at the hour of 9:54.
The motion is that the Senate take up the mentioned bills on special orders consent at hour of 9:54 a.m. This requires a two-thirds vote. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The Senate will take up those mentioned bills on special orders consent calendar at the hour of 9:54 a.m. Special orders, second reading of the bills, consent calendar. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
You heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The motion is adopted. The Senate will resolve itself in Committee of the Whole for consideration of special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar, and Senator Henriksen will take the chair.
The committee will come to order, and the court rule is relaxed for everybody. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the titles of all the bills on special order, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
House Bill 1176 by Representatives Hamrick and Joda and Senators Buckner and Fields concerning expanding the Behavioral Health Care Continuum Gap Grant Program to include a community investment grant for a new capital construction project. House Bill 1231 by Representatives Young and Doherty and Senators Kirkmeyer and Malika concerning state funding for 4 projects related to health sciences education programs for medical professions being undertaken by state institutions of higher education, and in connection therewith authorizing the state to issue financed purchase of an asset or certificate of participation agreements to finance a portion of capital costs associated with construction of facilities for the University of Northern Colorado's College of Osteopathic Medicine, Metropolitan State University of Denver's Health Institute Tower, Colorado State University's Veterinary Health Education Campus, and expansion and renovation of Trinidad State College's Valley Campus main building, providing funding for escrow money that is required for accreditation of the University of Northern Colorado's College of Osteopathic Medicine by transferring money from the general fund for ultimate deposit to an escrow account, and reducing the state reserve by the same amount for the period during which the money is held in escrow, and making an appropriation. House Bill 1329 by Representatives Byrd and Lindstedt and Senator Marchman concerning the continuation of the State Board of Licensure for architects, professional engineers, and professional land surveyors in connection therewith implementing the recommendations contained in the 2023 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies. House Bill 1345 by Representatives Weissman and Soper and Senator Fields concerning the Human Trafficking Council in connection therewith implementing the recommendation contained in the 2023 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies, implementing certain recommendations by the Human Trafficking Council, and making an appropriation. Senate Bill 129 by Senators Pelton B. and Kolker and Representatives Degree, Kennedy, and Frizzell concerning protecting the privacy of persons associated with nonprofit entities and in connection therewith prohibiting public agencies from taking certain actions relating to the collection and disclosure of data that may identify such persons. Senate Bill 215 by Senators Zenzinger and Bridges and Representatives Byrd and Sirota concerning modification of the effective date of House Bill 1421.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the Senate take up all, or approve all of the bills on special order, second reading of bills consent calendar, and the associated committee reports, which are House Bill 1176 and the Health and Human Services report and the Appropriations report, House Bill 1231, House Bill 1329, House Bill 1345, Senate Bill 129 and the Business, Labor, and Technology report and the Appropriations report, and Senate Bill 215. That's it.
The motion is the adoption of the committee reports on all of the bills on the special order second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee reports are adopted. The motion is the adoption of all of the bills on the second reading, special order second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bills are adopted. Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion is for the committee to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the report?
April 25th, 2024, Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 129 is amended. Senate Bill 215 passed on second reading. In order and engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1176 is amended. House Bill 1231, House Bill 1329, House Bill 1345 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the report.
The motion is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, and 1 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 129 is amended, and Senate Bill 215 passed in second reading and ordered engrossed and placed in the counter for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1176 is amended, 1231, 1329, 1345, passed in second reading and ordered revised and placed in the counter for third reading and final passage. Second reading of bills. General order, second reading of bills. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The Senate will resolve itself Committee of the Whole for second consideration of general order, second reading of bills, and Senator Henriksen will take the chair.
The committee will come to order, and the court rule is relaxed for everybody. Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, I will be laying over, I am moving to lay over House Bill 1230, Senate Bill 130, and Senate Bill 151 until tomorrow, April 26th. On that note, make an announcement that I will be pulling up the Senate bills in order on the calendar in front of the House bills, just for information.
The motion is to lay over House Bill 1230, Senate Bill 130, and Senate Bill 151. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bills are laid over. Senate Bill 193. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title to Senate Bill 193?
Senate Bill 193 by Senators Danielson and Simpson and Representatives Duran and Pugliese concerning a requirement that any annexation of lands within the exterior boundaries of a reservation of a federally recognized Indian tribe be approved by the Tribal Council of the Indian tribe.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 193 on second reading.
Any discussion? Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members. It's nice to be here with you today to talk about one of the needs of the Southern Ute Indian tribe. The tribal leadership came to me earlier this year and discussed a problem that they're currently facing down near Ignacio in the Four Corners region of the state. As you know, the Southern Ute Indian tribe is located in the southwest part of the state. But, as you might not know if you haven't been there, due to some pretty regrettable laws in the past, they encouraged settlement in this area. And as a result of it, the tribal lands are in what you might call a patchwork, pattern, meaning there's privately held lands within the boundaries of the tribal lands. It's kind of a shame that we do have to actually be here today because this law has been settled for 40 years. It was something that was a little bit unclear until 1984 when the state of Colorado and the tribe sat down to resolve this issue, to further strengthen the sovereignty, the jurisdiction, the borders, and what belongs to the Ute people in Colorado. We made an agreement, all parties observed it, and it was recognized by Congress in 1984. So it was troubling to me that in 2024, when we should be focused on how to get land back to Native people after our really horrible checkered history, instead, the local jurisdiction down there is trying to annex the land without the tribe's authority or approval. In several states, there's a law like this that exists to bolster this agreement or arrangement to make sure that the tribes and their sovereignty and their land are respected. But Colorado doesn't have this, and without it, it seems that this local jurisdiction could actually take the Southern Utes land without their approval. So I urge an aye vote on this. We heard in committee from leadership of the tribe. Vice Chair Cloud came to describe some of the past transgressions that their people have endured over many, many, many years at the hands of this government, and that this is a very simple, straightforward measure to ensure that the state of Colorado is respecting tribal sovereignty, upholding the agreement that we already made, and making sure that the tribe has a say if and when they wish to annex their own land. So I urge an aye vote on Senate Bill 193.
Senator Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I also encourage support and endorsement of Senate Bill 193. It did come out of State Affairs with unanimous, but there was an opportunity to leave it off of consent and have this conversation. It's been quite an education for me, history of treaties and broken promises and federal law and state law, tribal lands, folks, non-Indians on tribal, inside tribal boundaries. It's been quite an experience, and really the bill in its essence is really just an affirmation of the tribe's jurisdictional authority. It's as pretty simple and straightforward as that. There are an abundance of nuances and complexities in the background, but the bill, if you attended the Ute Day presentation from both chairmen from the Southern Ute and the Ute Mountain Ute, there was some discussion about this challenge to the Southern Ute in particular. So I was happy to be part of this conversation and be on the bill and really get a good education about some history and again, where the tribe's at. And again, the bill is 2 pages long, pretty straightforward, and again, just an affirmation of their jurisdictional authority. I encourage an aye vote for Senate Bill 193.
The motion is the adoption of Senate Bill 193. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 193 is adopted. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title to House Bill 1390? Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to proceed out of order to take up Senate Bill 34.
The motion is to proceed out of order for the hearing of Senate Bill 34. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will proceed out of order to hear Senate Bill 34. Mr. Hubler, will you please read Senate Bill 34?
Senate Bill 34 by Senators Marchman and Kolker and Representative Garcia concerning increasing access to school-based health care.
Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 34 and the Education Committee report.
To the committee report.
Okay, in the Education Committee, we changed the existing statutory reference to from school districts to local education providers to be more inclusive of district or institute charter schools and BOCES. We added the services provided by a school-based health center and clarified that healthcare providers of school-linked telehealth services are located in Colorado.
The motion is the adoption of the Education Committee report on Senate Bill 34. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The aye has it, and the committee report is adopted. To the bill, Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're really excited to bring SB 34 today. This has been a project that my co-prime and I have been working on throughout the interim. We have about 70 school-based health centers in Colorado, and what this bill will do is increase the grant program for our school-based health centers, which is a $5.1 million appropriation every year, and it's going to expand it to be able to include these school-linked models. So this will be like a spoken hub model, where in a school you may have kind of a telehealth situation with a school-linked service that's nearby. I just want to explain a little bit about what school-based health centers do. Oh, you want me to hurry? Okay. School-based health centers are proven to be an effective method for addressing medical, behavioral, dental, and vision health needs by meeting students where they are, in school. The healthcare delivery model helps eliminate barriers such as transportation, accessibility, and cost for children and families living in communities with little to no access to health care. It has been shown that these increase healthcare access, decrease absenteeism by 50%. We have a huge absenteeism issue here in Colorado. Increases student achievement, decreases healthcare costs for our families, and reduces health disparities. Parental and legal guardian consent and notification are an essential and required part of delivering services to students through school-based health centers. Parents and legal guardians have the right to utilize these services as they see fit, with the freedom to choose or opt out of services offered. Parent and legal guardians can request and receive health information and records for their child at any time. Student health data must follow FERPA and HIPAA guidelines. Parents and legal guardians can terminate services through the school-based health center at any time. So I just urge your support of this bill this year and in years to come, because we have a long ways to go.
Senator Kolker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And as my co-prime said, this is something that we've been working on. I toured a school-based health center near my school district in Sheridan over the past summer, focusing on what their services are, what they do. And as my co-prime just said at the end of her summary there, you know, parents still have control, they still have their rights, they still can terminate those services when kids go in. But it's key to know that kids have this opportunity to go see someone in or near their school. Someone, a social worker, a school, you know, if their school doesn't provide a school psychologist, they have an option for COP cap. It's a COP cap, if you don't know, was a part of a bill we passed in 2021 to provide support services for psychiatric psychology to doctors, to local clinics, to the Children's Hospital. Not necessarily therapy services at that point, but a point of reference, helping kids get connected to services that they may need. And that's something that the school-based health center in Sheridan that I talked with said they use all the time. These are important bridges to health care for our kids who are lacking access. They are at schools, they're required to go to schools, 180 days a year minimum, and this is serving them where they're at. So I encourage an aye vote on the expansion of the linkage, of making sure that HCPUF has the ability to identify services that are there, so we can make sure that we're providing exactly what is needed when it's needed. Thank you.
Senator Rich.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I do want to thank the sponsors. We actually have one of these school-based health centers in the district that I live in. But I was still a no on this. There's a couple of things. I was a little bit concerned about the fiscal note, as any of us would be in a year like this. But I know that the sponsors said, oh, the parents, you know, they can utilize it, they can opt out. But I still have an issue with the parents not being notified if the child utilizes these health-based centers. I think the parents should still be notified and notified what their child is utilizing a health-based center for. So until that could change, I'll be a no vote.
Senator Baisley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I would encourage a no vote on this bill. For philosophically, we ought not to be adding on these services to our public school systems. So as it is, our public school systems are underperforming just in their primary function, which is education. So folks, our kids, our students are not working at grade level. They are far behind, and we need to focus on just that primary mission, not psychological treatment, not medical treatment, and so on. Folks individually have their insurance, they have their primary care doctors, they have their specialists, and so on. If any health situation arises, if a mental health situation arises, then the the schools ought to inform the parents and let the parents be parents and not try to displace them in all of these areas. It has gone wrong so many times lately that we just need to take the lesson learned and say, let's stop piling on all of these services just because the students happen to be in the school under the care of the district for several hours each day, 5 days a week. We ought not to be providing for them as a parent would. We ought to be providing education for them, getting them prepared to thrive in the free market as good tax-paying citizens, but not taking care of all of their other peripheral needs. This is a really bad idea, and it always goes south. The parents always get displaced. It's just too tempting for agendas to be imposed on the schools with those students while they're away from their parents. And so the parents ultimately would not be informed of some significant medical matters that would be conducted on their children, and they wouldn't even know about it, and it would be in opposition to their principles. We need to let the parents be the parents, let the school refine down to just doing what it's supposed to do. So if you want your kids in public school, you're going to have to deal with this sort of thing. That's why I constantly encourage folks, get your kids out of public schools. This is the danger. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Minority Leader Lundin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I rise in opposition to Senate Bill 34, not because healthcare services for students, especially in environments where the services may be limited, is a bad idea, but because this bill, that is a significant expansion of that effort, is not introduced into our culture in isolation. We have had many bills that have come through the Education Committee, this one among them, that have sought to create policy based on a construct that I think is disconnected from the reality of the circumstances of the school children and the parents of Colorado. I think generally, almost conclusively, almost exclusively, the relationship between parents and children in Colorado is sound. Now, we all were teenagers once. We all bowed our necks at our parents. Many of us have had the opportunity to raise children who may have gone through a period of time in their upbringing where they bowed their necks at us, they defied us, they disagreed with us, they did not see the world the way we saw the world. But our love and connection, parent to child, was never broken. It remained. And the best interest of the children, the best interest of the students, are served, in my perspective, almost always, with very, very rare exception, best by the parents. And so parents' engagement and parents' awareness of what's going on in the child's life is critically important, especially when it comes to health matters for the students. Comes Senate Bill 34, based on a set of assumptions in a culture of bills that are coming through this chamber, based on a set of assumptions that basically says the relationship between parents and children is bad. And we, the government, we, the state, we, the school district, must step in between the child and the parent and provide services, provide succor and sustenance in a way that those parents we can't trust will not be able to do. I disagree with that premise, but that is the overwhelming culture that we're dealing with time and time again in this bill. Now, this bill provides for health services for students. Well, who could argue against that? I think it makes sense. School-linked healthcare services means primary healthcare services, behavioral healthcare services, oral healthcare services, or preventive healthcare services. Preventive healthcare services. Yeah, those are the sorts of things that generally are positive in a child's life. And the wisdom, the crystallized knowledge and wisdom and deep-seated concern, fundamental concern of parents for children with regard to those issues should be enlivened, connected, not hidden. This bill doesn't say, let's make sure. You amend this bill to say, parents notified, everybody knows what's going on, let's work as a team in the best interest of the student. I'm all in. It's more money to provide health services for the children. But as written and presented in the culture of driving a wedge between parents and children, I'm all out on Senate 34. It simply does not say, let the parents know. It creates and extends this environment where the school, the teacher, the guidance counselor, the state, the school district, the government know better than parents. Bad culture in almost all the circumstances of life in Colorado. And that's a challenge. That's a difficulty. That is a reason to be a no vote on this. The bill, and with regard to the services, preventive health care services, contemplate what that might be. Preventive health care services for a student in elementary, middle, high school, what might that include? You make your own determinations. Goes on, school-linked healthcare services may be delivered through telehealth, mobile services, or referrals for healthcare services at a clinic located near the school. What clinic might be located near the school? What's the definition of near the school? There are all sorts of vague possibilities for mischief and a wedge driven between parents and children embedded in this bill. Now, if the bill simply said, as long as the parents know what's going on and are consulted with, notified, and engage in this conversation, services should be provided. Yes, I'm campaigning for this bill, I'm advocating for this bill, I'm lobbying for this bill, but that's not what is done, and that's not what was allowed in conversation on this particular bill, and therefore, I find myself to be a no. This culture, this idea that parents are bad for children, their children, is a bad culture. It's a bad construct, and it leads to conclusions that are drawn, policies that are written, behaviors that are inculcated and promoted that drives wedges between parents and their children. Based on that, I urge a no vote on Senate 34.
The motion is the adoption of Senate Bill 34. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 34 is adopted. Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to proceed out of order to take up Senate Bill 75.
The motion is to proceed out of order to take up Senate Bill 75. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will proceed out of order for consideration of Senate Bill 75. Mr. Hubler, would you mind reading the title to Senate Bill 75, please?
Senate Bill 75 by Senators Pirola and Rodriguez and Representative Bacon concerning requirements for transportation network companies and in connection therewith requiring transportation network companies to comply with transparency requirements and deactivation procedure.
Senator Priola.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I move Senate Bill 75 and the BLT and Appropriations Committee reports.
To the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, in the Business, Labor, and Technology, we made a large amendment through many hours of stakeholdering and negotiation. This bill was my pre-file bill, and at the time, it had to be the pre-file bill. Given we had started working on it, the issue with stakeholders, both sides, in July and August, there were still some things that need to be ironed out. That amendment ironed out that portion of the bill. Ask for an aye vote.
The motion is the adoption of the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee report to Senate Bill 75 is adopted. To the Appropriations Committee report, Senator Piola.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the appropriations, we did another large amendment based on stakeholdering through the prior months, circling around lack of information for workers, drivers, lack of consumer transparency, wage transparency, so on and so forth, unjust termination. Ask for an aye vote.
The appropriate appropriation of appropriations in the Appropriations Committee report is appropriately moved. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no.
That's
the
appropriate.
ayes have it, and the Appropriations Committee report is adopted. There is an amendment at the desk. Mr. Hubler, will you please read L003?
L003, amend the Appropriations Committee report dated April 23, 2024, page 10.
Senator Piola.
strike line.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L003 to Senate Bill 75.
To the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, this amendment simply fixes some issues with the amendment we ran in BLT as well as appropriations. Just to clean it up, ask for an aye vote.
The motion is the adoption of L003 to Senate Bill 75. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and L003 is adopted. There is an amendment at the desk. Mr. Hubler, will you please read L004?
L004, amend the Appropriations
Senator
Committee report.
Piola.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L004 to Senate Bill 75.
To L004.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, this is a very simple amendment that changes one word and then also changes the reference. I ask for an aye vote.
The motion is the adoption of L004 to Senate Bill 75. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. L004 to Senate Bill 75 is adopted. To the bill, Senator Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, this is a bill that I had read last year. This bill has been in the works for 2 years. I'd like to thank the proponents and the opposition of the bill that collaborated for many, many months, for many, many hours to get where we are in a place of mutual support and understanding of the direction. I think at the end of the day, this bill is going to offer some important transparency to gig workers and the drivers in this company and to customers, and it will help protect them and give more usefulness for issues with hiring and firing and more transparency in that process so these people can continue to work in the livelihood that they've chosen to do. So I just want to do a shout out for all the work that's been done on both sides of this bill and ask for an aye vote.
Senator Piola.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I too want to add to what the good senator from Denver said about Senate Bill 75. He laid the groundwork for this issue last year, and unfortunately that bill failed in finance. But my commitment to the stakeholders was that we would work on it through the summer, and we did. Part of what we decided to do is split the issues between DNC and TNC, so you'll see a DNC bill coming through here in a bit. But we really dove in the summer, fall, and during session and had a lot of conversations. Quite honestly, I stood back and let them talk, and so I'm really proud of what I think will be model legislation going forward in other states. Ask for an aye vote on Senate Bill 75.
The motion is the adoption of Senate Bill 75. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 75 is adopted. Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, I am moving to lay over the remaining House bills on the calendar to the end of the calendar, so we should be proceeding in order to the rest of the calendar with Senate Bill 78. I move.
The motion is to... Senator Piola, did you want to speak to the motion? No. The motion is to lay over the remainder of the Senate bills on the calendar to the end.
House bills.
The remainder of the House bills on the calendar to the end of the calendar and to proceed in order with the remaining Senate bills on the calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and we will proceed with the Senate bills. Mr. Hubler, will you please read Majority Leader Rodriguez?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I got all excited. I thought I was done for a second. I move to lay over Senate Bill 43 until Thursday, May the 9th.
The motion is to lay over Senate Bill 43 till Thursday, May the 9th. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 43 is laid over until May 9th. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title to Senate Bill 78?
Senate Bill 78 by Senators Marchman and Piola and Representatives Joseph and McLaughlin concerning including outdoor nature-based preschool programs as a type of child care center in the Department of Early Childhood for licensing-related matters.
Senator Piola.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I move Senate Bill 78 and the Appropriations Committee report.
To the Appropriations Committee report. Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In appropriations, we put on 3 amendments. One was to tap into cash funds to cover $30,000 worth of the program. And another was to move the dates a bit for the training program. So that's what we did in appropriations.
The motion is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report to Senate Bill 78. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Appropriations Committee report is adopted to the bill. Senator Piola.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, Senate Bill 78 will, in my opinion, help replicate for the children of Colorado the experience I had growing up in the greenhouse business with my family. Getting out in nature, getting your hands and feet in the dirt and understanding how the physical world really is outside of the 4 walls of a classroom. That's where different types of learning happen that improve children's lives and experience. And I just want to thank my co-prime sponsors for so doggedly working this issue and whittling down the fiscal note. The credit is to her for the success of Senate Bill 78.
There is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Hubler, will you please read L005?
L005, amend the appropriations.
Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L005.
To L005.
L005 is an amendment that actually does push back the training as we asked to do. There was a misunderstanding. And so one of the amendments we put on in appropriations is going to be problematic for the department because it limits to 10 licenses, and that can create some equity issues. So I'd urge your support. This is in response to the Department of Education. I'm sorry, CDEC, the Department of Early Childhood Education.
The motion is the adoption of L005. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. L005 to Senate Bill 78 is adopted to the bill. Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This has been such a fun bill, as my co-prime shared. I got to tour a number of these little outdoor nature-based preschools, and they are absolutely adorable. No, yeah, they're adorable though. And they're already operating, but they're operating under kind of pieced together licenses that could be problematic. They're also halftime programs. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a full day program. This is going to make this type of education more accessible for everyone. We're hopeful that some of these outdoor nature-based preschools will end up being UPK providers, but these are so much fun. I hope that you've enjoyed the notes and cards and cuteness of the preschoolers who have been talking to you about this bill and their parents. So I do urge your support on 078.
Senator Baisley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as on the heels of the other bills that are expanding services and expanding the involvement into K-12 students' lives, here this is a department that really should not have gotten off the ground, and this extends it. And so I urge a no vote on this further involvement into the raising of children, which is not the business of the state, to be involved in the raising of our kids' early childhood. And I'll state, as I have a dozen times probably from this microphone, that Proposition EE that was used to fund early childhood was used against the will of the people. The sufficient funding for K-12, and prior to that, the sufficient funding for showing kids youth to not use tobacco, that was not sufficiently funds spent, but rather that money was diverted into the third option on Proposition EE, which was to fund early childhood and get it off the ground in the first place. So this was done against the will of the people. This is not appropriate role for government, and so I urge a no vote on this further interaction into our children's lives.
Minority Leader Lundin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning again. Rise in opposition to 078. Hey, look at that shiny object up there. No, seriously, look at the shiny object up there. Can everybody see the shiny object up there? I promised myself at the beginning of this session, every time we brought another peripheral education adjacent bill that uses a bunch of money, that's a cool, shiny object, I would say no, and I would start running the financial list of burdens we're putting on our school districts without money to cover them, or money that's being moved from core educational services, K-12 in nature, off to other cool, shiny objects like that one up there. This is one of those shiny objects. Wow, this is really cool. I'm an outdoor guy. I'm a hunter and fisherman. I grew up out of doors. I grew up falling out of trees. It was part of, how my childhood was designed. I kind of became resilient. Never broke anything serious, but boy, did I beat myself up falling out of those trees. So I believe, outdoors is part of what a child needs in their life. But this $257,000 shiny object is not where we should be spending our education money. This is a shiny object that is a distraction from the core mission of P20, as we like to call it, public education. This is a wonderful shiny object. Ladies and gentlemen, do not be distracted by the shiny object. Keep your eye on the prize. Academic attainment for the children in the P20 public education continuum. Vote no on 78.
The motion is the adoption of Senate Bill 78. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 78 is adopted. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title to Senate Bill 116?
Senate Bill 116 by Senator Buckner and Representative Joda concerning health care billing for indigent patients receiving services not reimbursed through the Colorado Indigent Care Program.
Senator Buckner.
Thank you. I move Senate Bill 116 as what?
We have a Health and Human Services Committee report.
Yes.
And appropriations.
Yes. The Health and Human Services Committee asked us to make a technical fix, which we did with L001, and appropriations recommendations were met as well.
Is there a motion to move the Health and Human Services Committee report?
Yes. I move the HHS amendment report. Thank you.
The motion is the adoption of the Health and Human Services Committee report to Senate Bill 116. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Health and Human Services Committee report is adopted. We need the Appropriations Committee report to also be moved.
I also move the appropriations report.
Any discussion on the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Appropriations Committee report for Senate Bill 116 is adopted. To the bill.
Thank you. This bill before you today creates an alternative pathway for rural health clinics to offer discounted care that better reflects their internal billing and financial systems, clarifies terminology and processes for both healthcare facilities and HCPF, and facilitates faster enrollment into Medicaid for patients who meet eligibility requirements. It's a great bill, and I am asking for a yes vote.
The motion is the adoption of Senate Bill 1... Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Senator Buckner.
Excuse me, I'm going too fast here. I have a second reading amendment, and I would like to present that amendment.
There is an amendment at the desk. Mr. Hubler, will you please read L002?
L002, amend Part of Bill, page 2, strike line 3. And
Senator
substitute.
Buckner.
Thank you. This is just strictly a technical fix, removing a term.
And would you please move the amendment, Senator Buckner?
I'm moving L002.
Motion is the adoption of L002. Is that more to speak on it, on the amendment, Senator Buckner?
I couldn't hear you.
I saw your hand go up. Did you want to speak to the amendment further?
It's just a technical fix.
The motion is the adoption of L002. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and L002 to Senate Bill 116 is adopted.
Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the adoption of Senate Bill 116. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 116 is adopted. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title to Senate Bill 124?
Senate Bill 124 by Senator Michelson, Janae, and Rich, and Representative Hartsook, concerning requiring health care coverage for biomarker testing.
Senator Rich.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 124 and the Health and Human Services report.
To the Health and Human Services Committee report. Seeing no discussion, the motion is the adoption of the Health and Human Services Committee report. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Health and Human Services Committee report is adopted. There is an amendment at the desk. Mr. Hubler, will you please read L008 to Senate Bill 124?
Amend the Health and Human Services Committee
Senator
report.
Michelson Janae.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In this, we did some negotiating with DOI and the date and time in which they're going to report out to the federal government. We asked for an aye vote.
Is there a motion on L008?
Oh, I forgot to move L008. I move L008.
The motion is the adoption of L008 to Senate Bill 124. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and L008 is adopted. There is an amendment at the desk. Mr. Hubler, will you please read L007?
L007, amend the
Senator
Health and
Michelson Janae.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I made a mistake and explained at Amendment 7. I move L007.
Discussion on L007.
This says within 120 days after the effective date of this section.
The motion
Yes.
is the adoption of L007 to Senate Bill 124. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and L007 is adopted. Senator Rich.
Are we to the bill? Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senate Bill 124. This has been a while getting here to the floor. This is about requiring health care coverage for biomarker testing. Biomarker testing helps to guide doctors' treatments decisions, which in turn can lead to improved patient outcomes and can help avoid costly, ineffective treatments. For example, patients with certain types of lung cancer who received biomarker testing had a 31% reduction in mortality. And nearly 60% of all cancer drugs approved in the last 5 years require or recommend biomarker testing before use. This has been an important bill that I'm just really glad to see come. I'm probably one of those patients that will probably see cancer again in my life, since I've already seen it 5 times, and I hope that you'll consider supporting this bill.
Senator Michelson Janae.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I couldn't be more grateful for my co-prime sponsor. We share cancer diagnoses in common, and this can be life-changing for many diagnoses, but cancer personally for us. So we hope for an aye vote.
Senator Liston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just had a question to one of the sponsors. I see in the fiscal note that federal funds is a little over $7 million. And I was just wondering how reliable that money will be. What happens?
Did you get the updated version? There is no appropriation.
There is no, okay, very good. Well, that answers my question. Very good. Thank you very much.
The motion is the adoption of Senate Bill 124. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 124 is adopted. Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the Senate lay over Senate Bill 192 until tomorrow, April 26th.
The motion is to lay over Senate Bill 192 until tomorrow, April 26th. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 192 is laid over. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title to Senate Bill House Bill 1319?
House Bill 1319 by Representatives Duran and Winter and Senator Danielson concerning the Colorado Professional Firefighters License Plate, and in connection therewith specifying that the Colorado Professional Firefighters License Plate expires upon the transfer of a motor vehicle and making an appropriation.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1319 on second reading.
Any discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just really quickly, this is kind of a cleanup follow-up bill to the creation of the Professional Firefighters License Plate, making sure that people are still qualified and their records are up to date, et cetera, so that they can get the plate. And I just wanted to remind folks that this foundation does a lot of good for the community. So for these firefighters and their families, they do college scholarships, grants for illnesses, line of duty deaths, and financial hardships related to the medical conditions of the members or their families. Just a really good support network. So when folks buy these plates, the money goes to a great cause, and I urge an aye vote. Thank you.
The motion is the adoption of House Bill 1319. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1319 is adopted.
Thank you.
Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title to House Bill 1380?
House Bill 1380 by Representative Mabry and Senators Cutter and Huggins Lewis concerning measures to increase consumer protections in transactions with debt-related services.
Senator Jaquez Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1380 and the accompanying judiciary report.
Discussion on the Judiciary Committee report. Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So one amendment we did was for the collectors, the debt collectors, and we addressed the debtor, we addressed joinders and a few other issues around debt and how it's resolved, and we asked for your, never mind, that's what we did.
Senator Jaquez Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that was L008 and L0010 was concerning making sure that we did not take away access to consumer information that is offered by debt management services. So we move the judiciary report.
The motion is the adoption of the Judiciary Committee reports to House Bill 1380. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Judiciary Committee report is adopted. To the bill. Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this discussion around debt assignments started last year when my lovely colleague and I worked on Senate Bill 23093. We looked to cap interest rates on medical debt. And we learned more about some of the unacceptable behaviors that can happen sometimes when dealing with debt. Our hospital system has sued 8 people per day for the last 4 years to collect on medical debt. 8 people per day. And this is all while not putting their own name on one of these lawsuits. And this bill seeks to change that. 12% of Coloradans have medical debt collection trade lines on their credit files with an average balance of $2,152 and a median balance of $711. And Coloradans overall hold over $1.3 billion in debt reported to their credit files. And so many people can't afford a surprise expense of $400, let alone double that. So this causes them to make bad decisions, and just it's a compounding problem and puts them in vulnerable positions. And sometimes they seek resolution from a debt resolution company, and they can provide valuable services, but some of them also take advantage of vulnerability. So we really just want to protect people from surprise or confusing billing practices where they're not sure who's billing them or why, and you create some transparency and empower the consumer and protect the consumer from their debt cascading and getting any worse.
Senator Hawkins Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, this bill is about consumer debt transparency, and I thank my lovely colleague for all the work. I also want to give a shout out to the Center for Health Progress. They really have helped to provide a lot of the data that is in this bill. Also, the Attorney General, Phil Weiser, has really been looking into the number of cases, and we're talking 15,000 court cases in 5 years. When a consumer cannot recognize the name of the person who is asking for money, then how in the world are they going to respond to that? And what this bill does is it puts the debt, who is owed the debt and who is collecting the debt. So this bill peels back the curtain of the secretive court proceedings and gives Coloradans the light of day on debt collection. And we move House Bill 1380.
The motion is for the adoption of House Bill 1380. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1380 is adopted. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title to House Bill 1117?
House Bill 1117 by Representatives McCormick and Soper and Senator Marchman concerning including certain species under the authority of the state agencies that regulate parks and wildlife and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1117 and the, nope, that's it.
To the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm really pleased to present House Bill 1117 today. The bill comes out of Colorado Parks and Wildlife in the Department of Natural Resources. Invertebrate species, meaning those without a backbone, include arthropods, mollusks, annelids, flatworms, sponges, and more. So what this bill will do is set us up to be able to classify invertebrates and native rare plants under CPW. So with that, I would urge an aye vote on this House bill.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, we heard this bill in appropriations, and this bill is about rare plants and invertebrates and adding them to the species that can be studied and conserved in Colorado Parks and Wildlife. This caused me to wonder, why are we concerned about animals without backbones? So, the bill allows for Parks and Wildlife to conduct investigations and surveys of rare plants, and requires us to appropriate sufficient funding either from the general fund or the wildlife cash fund for the implementation of the bill. It also adds rare plants to the management programs. Now, the thing is, this is at $1 million, and I don't know about all of you, but I've gotten bad news about bills in that neighborhood involving people. And it has been my concern in the recent months that we have prioritized pets over people, criminals over crime victims, and this seems to be another example of that. And for that reason, I voted no. It's not that I think that it's not good to study these matters, but we have universities, we have nonprofits, we have all sorts of organizations and educational institutions to perform this. And it's probably better and more efficiently performed by them. Members, I urge a no vote.
Senator Will.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I come up, most of you know that I have a fair bit of experience in this arena. And I'm all about non-game and big game and hunting and fishing and all that. What this bill does, it's concerning the species of rare plants and invertebrates. I can tell you in my entire career working for DOW, we already did this. We did all of this. And I don't care if it was a land use comment that we were making on maybe a new oil and gas rig up on BLM, Forest Service, private land, whatever. I remember a lot of the rare species down by Parachute Peninsula plant. We always look for rare plants, not so much invertebrates. Most of us weren't that keyed in and knowledgeable about the invertebrates, but as far as the aquatic invertebrates, we were very tuned into that. And I know it's Colorado. It is Colorado's policy to protect and enhance biodiversity, and because that's necessary to maintain our ecosystems. And we support agriculture. There's pest control, there's soil fertility we talk about, all this stuff about ecosystem resilience, and healthy ecosystems are what we're after. And we're always talking about we want clean water, clean air, and we all want that, and we all want to guard against any hazards or issues that would interfere with that. But putting these plants and invertebrates in this deal, I think is I have some concerns with it. I think I know the state wildlife plan identified like 75 invertebrates and 117 rare plants that were of great interest to Colorado. But we do so much. I've stood up here in front of you all multiple times talking about conservation easements, and so if there's those type of things that are identified, especially on private land, then we're going to try to get those into an easement program and protect them. This bill I just see as a way of growing government. I see it a way of growing the CPW. I understand where the funding's coming from, and it's not hunting and fishing licenses. I understand that. But, to add more people, more personnel, more FTEs to the agency. I'm also a little concerned, and I've had these conversations about this bill. I'm a little concerned about who these new biologists and whatnot will work for, and who they'll work for, and how they'll, if they, if they're going to be out of Denver, if they're going to be decentralized, or where these new biologists would come from. And I don't have the fiscal note in front of me, but I think all of these gaps in data or information, I think, is already being done with our current biologists, with our current wildlife biologists. And thank you for the fiscal note. Yeah, we're looking at 5 FTEs and then the out year of six FTEs. Thank you to the sponsor. I appreciate that because I didn't have that in front of me. Anyway, so 5 or 6 more new biologists are going to be added to the payroll. I know what it takes. There's salaries, there's operating expenses, vehicles, all of that. And I just want to say to you that having over 40 years of experience in this agency, I really, truly feel that this is already being addressed through the other avenues that we do in carrying out our duties and our job. And I just don't think there's a need to have additional FTEs and additional biologists to address this bill. And as you all know, I support everything CPW, DOW. It's been my history here in this chamber to support about every bill about that. I don't care if it's species conservation or conservation easements, et cetera. So it's a little rare for me to come up here and speak against this, and I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying I don't think it's needed. And so in that aspect, I guess I'm speaking against it. But I don't think it's needed. I see it just growing the agency, and maybe having people to do jobs that are already currently being done with the existing personnel that the agency has. So I'll be a respectful no on this bill. Thank you.
Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to my amazing colleague from the Ag Committee from Newcastle. I just wanted to agree with him. These are some new positions, but I just wanted to specify what they are because they are brand new. An invertebrate coordinator, 2 invertebrate conservation field staff, an aquatic invertebrate specialist, a rare plant coordinator, and a pollinator coordinator. So those are the positions that'll be there. So you're right, they're new. This is a new branch for CPW. This is a bill that is cash funded, really like the way that CPW does that. And I love to run CPW bills for that reason. So appreciate your support of this bill and appreciate your comments. Good Senator from Newcastle.
Minority Leader Lundin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I rise in opposition to House Bill 1117, not as a senator. You ask, well, then what are you doing in the well? I'm in the well because I get to be in the well as a senator, but I rise in opposition as a sportsman. I have paid in certainly over the course of the past half century fees every year. I drive a truck that has a license plate on it that says Hunting and Fishing Funds Conservation. It's my fees that we're talking about here. And I'm speaking on behalf of those of us who are sports people, who pay the fees that fund the projects, and to me, there are other projects that our Parks and Wildlife Commission and Division should be more focused on than this, is my perspective. So I simply stand up as a citizen before you, raising my hand, saying, hey, I'm the guy paying the fees, and I'd rather you spend it on the more core projects before Parks and Wildlife than on hiring people to study invertebrates in Colorado. I urge your no vote on 1117.
Senator Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also heard this bill in Ag Committee some time ago, and some of the questioning was, like, this is about $1 million of cash fund to support the program. I'm not sure I'm clear what programs are not going to get funded now as a result of the $1 million needed to support this program. Also thinking about, we've managed to work in this space for quite some time without this specialty, and it revolves around endangered and threatened species and where we're headed in that space. But I can tell you again, it can feel a little bit like, almost like whack-a-mole about, we chase this species for a little while, then there's another new endangered threatened species, and we go chase that one for a while. I did ask the department, and they have provided me kind of a list of kind of high priority areas, but I also recognize that that's going to be a very dynamic and moving target. And again, I just think we can address this and handle this in-house currently, as we have for quite some time now, and not the necessity to grow the department by 6 or 7 folks. And again, where does the $1 million come from? Surely there's a program now not going to get funded as we move forward. So I rise in opposition to 1117. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Will.
And thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to have a couple additional comments on, I have to tell you that, it was said that the 5 and then 6 FTEs, and the good senator, the sponsor, pointed out what those were going to be. And I have to tell you that the agency already has subject matter experts in all these categories. Subject matter experts. And I can tell you that our fishery biologists across the state, they know all about invertebrates, right? Any of our terrestrial biologists, they know about the endangered species. And then also, when it concerns endangered plants, we have all kinds of biologists already currently in the state. And when I say subject matter experts, I mean subject matter experts. They know more than anybody else about this. And what we're doing here is trying to add, 5 or 6 more. And it's just not needed. I understand the intent of the bill, and as I told you, I always support this kind of stuff. But I'm here telling you today, I don't support this because I don't think those additional FTEs and the additional operational costs to the agency, and where the money comes from. So. I just don't think it's needed. Those I know for a fact that the subject matter experts are already out there. They're already employed. They're already in those positions, and let them do the job. Thank you.
Minority Leader Lundin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Although it is a different pool of cash, not this particular cash, the reality is we have an expanding, if you're following the headlines at all, an expanding problem with wolf predation in Colorado. We've got, I think the count is now up to 4 calves have been killed this spring as part of this wolf reintroduction effort. Now, it's a different pool of cash, but I will make the argument that all dollars are fungible. The reality is we give a little here, we take a little there, and it all needs to net balance somehow. And this is $1 million that is, quite frankly, expanding the state employment pool. We've already got 16% of the employees in the state are employed by the state of Colorado. This just adds more people for, again, and I was using the shiny object metaphor earlier today. This shiny object is not over there. This shiny object is over there. Look at the shiny object. We got $1 million shiny object here, people to study invertebrates, when we've already got people that have the capacity, the ability to do the work. This is, in my mind, $1 million down a rat hole. I don't know, maybe we should study rat holes as part of the process. Or I was thinking when the good senator from Alamosa was speaking that maybe I should offer a conceptual amendment that we should spend $1 million whacking moles and figuring out which the next whack-a-mole is. So we need a whack-a-mole project that we should, in fact, be spending our money on. I just say $1 million, cash funds, I get it. But this is kind of personal for me. Those are funds I've been paying in for 50 years of my life because I care about conservation. I care about wildlife. I care about being an outdoorsman in Colorado. And this is just money that is down a rat hole. It's not down a rat hole, it's down an invertebrate hole, and I just think it's wasted money.
Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is not currently on this bill. This is technical for some reason. I do expect my name to be on the bill when it passes, so that's why I'm down here, in addition to the fact that I would still be down here because this is a great bill, and here's why. As far as I can understand, most of the arguments against are, this is very important, but we're already doing it, so why pay for it? The answer is, this is very important. We are already doing it. We need to do more of it. And the reason we need to do more of it is to keep the feds out of Colorado. The better job we do making sure that there are there are management plans in place, that we are looking at what it is that is impacting species that might get added to an endangered species list, the better job we can do here in the state, the less likely we are to face federal interference. This is about maintaining state control and making sure the folks that are helping us do that have the funds they need. Ask for an aye vote.
Minority Leader Lundin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I just want to be really clear. I want to put a little bit finer point on this. We're talking about invertebrates here. I find this bill to be spineless and therefore deserving of a no vote.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think it's really important to close out this debate to assure the people of Colorado that no moles were injured or otherwise harmed in the conduct of this debate.
Senator Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wasn't going to end it on that kind of a note, so I was just going to argue the point, if this is an effort to keep the feds out of Colorado, you better increase the fiscal note by at least tenfold, because there are thousands of species that fit in this category, and each one of them are open to interpretation as being endangered or threatened. This is, again, a bit of a whack-a-mole opportunity. I don't think you're going to spend $1 million. Oh, sorry. I don't think you're going to spend $1 million and keep U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the feds out of Colorado's business.
Seeing no further puns or dad jokes, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1117. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and 1117 is adopted. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion is for the committee to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
Glad I haven't seen her yet. The Senate will come to order. Will the clerk please add me to the roll? Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee of the Whole has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the report?
April 25th, 2024, Mr. President, your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report as had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 193, Senate Bill 34 is amended, Senate Bill 75 is amended, Senate Bill 78 is amended, Senate Bill 116 is amended, Senate Bill 124 is amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1319, House Bill 1380 is amended, House Bill 1117 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1230, Senate Bill 130, Senate Bill 151, Senate Bill 192 laid over until April 26, 2024 and retaining their place on the calendar. Senate Bill 43 laid over until May 9, 2024 and retaining its place on the calendar.
Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
The motion is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, the Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 193, Senate Bill 34 is amended, Senate Bill 75 is amended, Senate Bill 78 is amended, Senate Bill 116 is amended, Senate Bill 124 is amended, passed on second read order, engrossed and placed on the calendar for third read and final passage. House Bills 1319, 1380 is amended, 1117 passed on second read and order, revised and placed on the calendar for third read and final passage. House Bill 1230, Senate Bill 130, Senate Bill 151, Senate Bill 192, laid over until April 26th and retaining their place on the calendar. Senate Bill 43, laid over until May 9th and retaining its place on the calendar. Consideration of governor's appointments, consent calendar. Will the clerk please read all of the appointments listed on the consent calendar?
Members of the Colorado Commission on Judicial Discipline for terms expiring June 30, 2027. Courtney Sutton of Colorado Springs, Colorado, to serve as a non-attorney occasioned by the resignation of Gina Lopez of Toyac, Colorado, appointed. Emily Tufton-Esteval of Evergreen, Colorado, to serve as a non-attorney occasioned by the resignation of Mercer Pacheco of Pueblo, Colorado, appointed.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for passage of all the appointments on the consideration of governor's appointment consent calendar, which include Courtney Sutton of Colorado Springs and Emily Toft of Nesteval of Evergreen for the Colorado Commission on Judicial Discipline.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is a confirmation of the appointments on the consent calendar. Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, the appointments are confirmed. Signing of bills.
April 25th, 2024, the President signed Senate Memorial 3, House Bill 1222, 1248, 1309, 1392, 1403, and 1421.
Announcements. Senator Coleman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Members, Senate State Veteran Military Affairs Committee will be meeting at 1:30 p.m. in the old Supreme Court room. We will be hearing SCR 24002, Senate Bill 213, 206, 210, SCR 24003.
Those sound like some good bills. Senator Coleman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Also, we will be reviewing the members of the Colorado Civil Rights Commission for appointments.
Senator Mickelson-Janae.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, we have Cancer Caucus today. If you've wanted to join Cancer Caucus, we'll be up in room 354 at noon, and we always have a really good conversation. I hope you'll join.
Senator Malika.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, you were not here. I do have an announcement, but you were not here earlier today, and it is Take Your Kid to Work Day. And I have Gabriella, Gabalicious, a.k.a. Gabalicious, Logan, and Autumn Grayson. They did make a request to ask you a question to be nicer to their dad. And so I just, before this announcement, I just wanted to make sure that that was on the record. But members, Senate Finance Committee will be meeting upon adjournment, 15 minutes upon adjournment to hear House Bill 1336, House Bill 1436, and Senate Bill 127.
Senator Malika
Will not be fined.
will be fined.
What? What?
Smile.
They asked me to ask you. This didn't come from me.
Each senator should speak for himself and not be impacted by mere children who happen to be on the floor.
I speak for my constituents. Whether, I'm sorry. What's the fine?
Senator Malika will be fined $500.
Whoa.
In lieu of cash, the Senate will accept an iPad. Because I see 3 of them back there. A credit will be added to Senator Malika's account in the amount of $499. Mr. Minority Leader.
Mr. President, thank you. Good to see you this morning. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Mr. President, had you been on the floor, and you might have been on the floor, you probably actually heard me arguing about the sanctity of the bond between parents and their children. And on behalf of that sanctity of the bond between parents and children, I am glad to have paid the $1 fine on behalf of Senator Malika.
Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. I work to speak on behalf of all of my constituents, whatever their age or relation. So, Senate Appropriations Committee will meet tomorrow, and we will be hearing, oh, this is the wrong one. I'll be back.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the State Health and Human Services Committee, we will be meeting this afternoon at 1:30. We have confirmation hearings, and then we also have 5 bills for consideration. Thank you.
Senator Exum.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Local Government and Housing Committee will be meeting 15 minutes upon adjournment, and we will hear the bills in this order. House Bill 1175, House Bill 1304, Senate Bill 154, and House Bill 1313 for action only. That is a change from what's printed in the calendar. Thank you.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee, we will be meeting this afternoon. We may be in a different room, so stay tuned. And we will meet at 1:30 or upon adjournment of Finance and Business, to, whichever is soon earliest. We have appointees to the Water Quality Control Commission, and then House Bill 1435 and House Bill 1346. Thanks.
Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. Deja vu all over again. Senate Appropriations will meet tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m., recognizing there are other committees that are meeting that our members serve on. We will wait until everyone can make it. So starting at 8:30 or thereabouts, and we will be hearing House bills 1111, 1235, 1273, 1344, and Senate Bill 64, 208, 217, and other bills as assigned. So, see you tomorrow morning at 8:30.
Senator Liston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I know how busy everybody is, but I did want to remind everybody that today is part 2 of the Nuclear Caucus Luncheon. It was very well received. We're already splitting atoms, that's right. But in all sincerity, we had great speakers yesterday. We have 3 new speakers today. And we have nuclear brownies, not electric brownies, nuclear brownies and ice cream today. So come and you'll be well informed. And secondly, Mr. President, I've spoken to the majority leader and the minority leader and asked to be excused on Monday.
Senator Liston will be marked as excused on Monday. Senator Buckner.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I have a moment of personal privilege?
Granted.
I would like to introduce some special guests who are here today over to my right, representing the Center for Health Progress. They do an amazing job advocating for health care and fairness and equity in health care. So thank you for being here with us today. Could you stand up? Yeah.
Senator Priola.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too would like to announce my special guest and embarrass my 2 daughters, Mari and Cora, who are back there in the corner, who are joining their father for Take Your Kid to Work Day. They've had an informative day. They were able to sit on appropriations and took some video of their father. So thank you.
Cora seems like she's having the time of her life. Senator Coleman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Also, Senate Business, Labor, and Technology Committee will be meeting at 11:35 in Old Supreme Court chamber to hear House Bills 1220, 1344, 1334, 1381, and 1129.
Further announcements. Mr. Majority Leader. Announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, tomorrow we will have a few committees that will be pulled up as well as appropriations, just so you know. But the plan is to do some floor work. So just to let you know that through lunch will be provided for members and staff here on the Senate floor around 12:30. So just want to let you know that. On that note, Mr. President, I move that the Senate recess until 12 o'clock today. Colleagues, you do not need to return. It's just for reading bills across the desk.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will recess until 12 noon today.